So we've been working on AI focused on editors, but maybe some of you have also seen Juke on the developer portal. Have you noticed that? So I can just start by showing you that. So here is this little guy down in the corner. You can click in and you can start asking questions here about how to get started with Enonic, right? And hopefully you get some decent answers. So here are the search results, and then it will kind of tell you what to do. So you can also produce code examples and stuff for you. It's kind of useful. If you use it and it kind of doesn't work as expected, just tell us about it. We're using something called the Google AI agent under the scenes here to do the job, and then wrap it in inside this mascot that helps us. And kind of this is a sort of our approach to AI, as you'll see when I go through the presentation here. So let's just dive in. So when you start thinking about, oh, we're going to integrate AI into Content Studio, what most of you have seen, I guess, is either just a separate chat, AI will help you with whatever, and then there's some integrated AI into maybe Google Docs or other tools you use in the developers tools that will help you kind of fill in like one big text typically, right? But in a Content Studio, there's something called structured content. So it's not just one big text, it's like sort of a database, right? So that kind of poses an initial problem. Also, it's kind of how do you kind of make a user interface where this feels natural and you're on top of things. And then it's kind of which models do you, or which model do you use to do this? Those are kind of the imminent questions we had. But as you dive a bit deeper into the whole package, you'll see there are a dozen more issues like reliability. Can we expect to get kind of the consistent answers we need back from the AI? How flexible is it? Can it do what we need? Is it fast enough, right? So sometimes you can't just stream back like you see in the normal chat where it just fills in. You have to wait for the entire answer before you can present it. So performance, then there's security, kind of, it's everything from corporate data, right, to kind of personal data and all of that fun stuff. And also it has some costs, at least used at scale, right? And this is where we want to go. We want to really use AI at scale. So you all guys can do stuff faster, better, smarter. So we started in January 24, so almost a year ago. And we started to make a prototype. That was kind of the plan. And gave it a codename Saga and made a nice icon. And I guess like most of you at that time, GPT was what you'd heard of. So we started with the 3.5 turbo, I think, and gradually used different models up to the 4.0. And we also used an API that was called the Assistant API. So that is a stateful API where you start a discussion. You start a thread, and then the OpenAI keeps kind of track of what has been discussed. So we didn't have to deal with that in the prototype. And we wanted to use React to make the UI, to do something new there and try that out. So in just before summer, we had a demo of this, and we had a working version, and we had nailed quite a few things in the user interface. So so you would chat with it, obviously, and as you can see here, it's referencing different fields in the form you're working with. So we were able to kind of get decent responses back, and we also came up with like this mentioning thing here. So you can see the question here mentions text area, and it says, can you make 3 suggestions for text area? And then it comes up with 3 suggestions. So those were kind of, and how do you work with inserting? You can see there's quite a few things to deal with when it's not just one big text. So we kind of nailed, we think, a few of these issues, and sort of thought those ideas were good, and continued working on that. Also, on the technical side, we bumped into quite a few issues. So there's something called the context, or basically the prompt, how much stuff you can feed in. And the more you feed in, sort of typically the slower it will get. Sometimes they even have like hard limits, typically. How big can this context be? And they measure it in tokens, if you haven't heard about that, but that's basically like words. How many different words can you pass in? And those have been fairly limited, but things are changing, as I'll get back to. Also the response format, because the natural format for an AI and a prompt is text. And here we need to kind of somehow structure it a bit more, right? So we need to get the answers back in we tried different things, but JSON is kind of what we're doing now. So that's definitely a problem, because that was not consistent. Sometimes you got JSON, sometimes you got something else. Okay, and then how do you decently integrate this with Content Studio so you can kind of be in a separate interface which is kind of detached from Content Studio and inject the fields back into the form. Performance I mentioned here, timeouts, user just what's going on, is it working? And yeah, and I mentioned the stateful API. Obviously we couldn't do that. You had tons of issues with that, because that meant we're restoring everything in OpenAI in that case. So the whole chats were kind of lying around there. You had to delete them, clean them up, and yeah, so that wasn't working. And also we were severely limited to OpenAI, because yeah, even if that is nice, it doesn't solve everything we want to do. You might want to do quite different things. You might want to make images. Yeah, it can do something, but not the normal chat API. Then you have to actually use something else, and they're integrating their stuff with is it DaVinci or something else. So a bunch of issues we came across. So after the prototype, we sat down and said, so what is our goal with AI? Where do we want to really go? What's our vision? So we came up with the following. We wanted to make the AI as your colleague. So we will kind of present him as a colleague of yours, and want you to work with the AI like a person. That's kind of our vision. And what does that mean? It means it doesn't just help you with this fill in the form stuff. It's gonna do tasks for you, right? So how do we want to approach this? Well, you set it up in your instance of Enonic. You give it kind of your digital strategy. If you have custom instructions, your specific info about your domain, maybe even activity plans, like well, we're going to do a blog post every second week. That's kind of the bootstrapping. And of course, the AI will be like Enonic guru, so it knows the system, it knows how it works. And we then provide the AI with different skills. And the way we're doing this now is we're making different apps in Enonic. So it means you can install, tune, and configure different skills for the AI. And it will appear across the system and do different things for you. So it could be like the chat and helping you with the text, but maybe you could say something in the text later like, oh, hey, can't you create a new landing page for this product we built? And then you should get a task, you can get the pages there, and you can work with it over time. That's kind of where we want to go. So you can work in the background, do stuff for you, do bulk updates. Oh, like Viggo has a new last name he married, so now it's Viggo Venn, right? And then you can have the AI go through all your content and fix it, right? So you can take away those, let's say, tedious, boring tasks, and you can keep stuff up to date and all the good things. But we can't solve everything in the first go, so we have focused on these two. And that's kind of the essential communication with it. And then the translation, we think, is kind of the real kind of first kind of value-adding, properly value-adding feature. So we also then started looking around beyond ChatGPT and OpenAI. And Google has been working a lot with AI, obviously. And they also launched somewhere around this time the Gemini models properly. They got new versions of it. And they solved some of the issues we'd faced. So they introduced super large context, like millions of tokens. So you can pass in like enormous amounts of data in a single request. It's also quite affordable, and it's also fast compared to at least our experience with the OpenAI at the moment. Also, equally interesting, Google has something for companies working with AI, not just this, okay, here's an API and just use as an end user thing almost. So Google has something called Vertex AI. It's part of Google Cloud. And there you can do a lot of cool things. You can train your own models, you can host them, etc. So, okay, interesting. This is like their AI platform, literally. But it also has one special feature which we were intrigued by, which is called the model garden. So unlike OpenAI, where you essentially get access to one or their existing different models, here you get access to 150 different AIs models. That includes all the Gemini stuff. It also includes Llama from Facebook, and it even includes the what's it called? Anthropy? No. Claude. Yeah, Claude from yeah. So that means you can go one place and enable the AIs you want without kind of having to host or manage them yourself. You just say, I want to have access to this one, and I want it to run in, I'm in Europe or whatever. You don't have to run it normally, but you can also start other custom models here. So that's also very nice. You get one endpoint, you can secure it in a consistent way and communicate with all the different APIs. And you manage everything from the Google Cloud Console. So we really like this because we early saw that we will not sort of be satisfied by using one limited AI or one specific feature. We might need many different approaches to solving very different tasks. So it could be everything from simple classification to kind of this most powerful stuff you're used to see. And each of them has different costs and how often do you run them and how fast are they, etc. So I'll give a quick demo then of how it works. Okay, so here's our website. This one is our QA server. I'm using the next front end here. It's all good. What I'm going to demonstrate is just how we can use the AI. So I'll create a new blog post. Do something safe, right? And we get in here, and this is kind of what you're probably used to seeing. Except for one small detail, you now have a new colleague, always kind of keen on what you're doing. So here we are. And I can click it to start talking with the colleague here. So good afternoon already. Yes, it's true. So I'm running a live demo of Juke AI. Can you write a blog for us? Oh, maybe us. And do it in bro style. I'll see what it comes up with. Yeah. So here we are. Okay. So if you look at the result, This ain't your grandma's. Yeah, it's always very creative, of course. But but what you see here, first of all, like we worked on the UI to make it like possible to be in this chat and not having to copy paste everything, right? So you see these guys here. I can copy the text. I can insert it here, and here's some rich text, and then you can also click here to insert all. So now it just throws everything in here, and I can say goodbye. And then we're down here on normal editing. And as you can see, if it's a text field, you also get kind of access to the AI, regardless of what field it is. So I can click here, and this is still kind of design in progress, but this sets something we call a scope. So it will kind of then work with this item or child items in this structure. So you limit it. I can also mention fields here, like the body text, but now there's nothing more. Then I can say, nice, can you add a summary table? So it should be able to do that. All right. So again, just insert this one. All right. So I'll add an image. And obviously, as you can imagine, future versions will have an image skill. So when you get here, you'll have actually a plus icon, and then you can choose to upload, or you can create an image directly from here. I'll just now add AI taking over the world and save. So here we are. Yeah, it looks nice. Okay, so it helps us create and work with content. That's all good, and it's going to do much more in the future, right? So you could just say generate 10 blog posts, and it goes off and generates 10 blog posts and makes an issue and gives it to you, and then you can start kind of messing with that. So so that's kind of future versions. Yeah, mark is ready and publish. We're all good. So that was the copywriter. Then we have another feature. We have our website is also translated to Norwegian. So I can go to the Norwegian version. And if I go to the blog section here, yeah. So we can see that it's kind of dripped down here, but it's not published and it's not translated. And in this site, I can show you how it's added. So I'm a Superman, so I can add apps to the site, of course. And here we can see we have added both apps. This is we'll probably use the eye here for an icon, but that's the normal chat. And this is the AI translator. So if I look at the AI translator, we can see that someone's been here and added some general instructions. So when you translate, think about this stuff, and there's some dictionary stuff. Yeah, we want to change when someone writes CMS, it should always be CMS in the end, and blah blah blah. So you can give some background info here. Nice. And let's try to use it. So I'm going to take this one and click localize. It opens the form, and Juke now kind of, because it's installed there, detects it. Oh yeah, it's you're trying to localize. Do you want some help, right? It's very keen to help. And you can then customize this. If I don't want the standard stuff for this one, I want to do something special. But normally you probably don't need to think about that. And then you just click translate, and then, whoa, it's a bit too fast for, oh yeah, it's done. So what happened here? Yeah, that's good, right? Sometimes it's much more text, and it takes a bit more time. But at least what you maybe didn't see then, but it locked the field to say I'm now working in this field, and then it kind of injected the value as soon as it had it back. Same for all the fields. So this happens in parallel, and it can be super fast because I'll go back to how that actually plays out. So we can see if it actually did a dude translation here? Yeah, dette rått, kompis. Yeah. Okay, sounds good to me. So now you've seen it in action. That's kind of the first things we're going to release. It's like 98% ready. And I'll now go through the details. What actually happens here? Yeah. Come on. So for the copywriter, we use something called multi-step prompting because it's complex, basically. And that's a technique that helps you kind of get the best answers. So we're doing multiple iterations when we communicate, and we're using 2 different models even to do it. And as you've seen, we can work across different fields. There's the scope stuff, and basically it's handling 2 different responses. It's what we call simple and complex. Simple is just, okay, what day is it, right? And you get some text back. Complex is when there are field values returned. So the way it plays out is like this. I'm writing, hey, write a blog post. It will then communicate first with the Gemini Flash, and then it will get the response back. And then this will determine whether it was a simple or complex question. So if it was a simple, we just instantly return here and everyone's happy. If it, however, was complex, it will do another query and then against the pro to do sort of the text generation and all the fields and all that stuff. And then you get the response, and I can choose insert. So it's kind of pretty straightforward. But if you look at what's going on behind the scenes, the initial prompt is at least, at the moment, at least 1200 tokens. And it grows with your content type and content you have in the form. So it can be like quite big, to put it that way. And I'm not going to go into all the details here. If someone wants to talk about AI and prompting, we can set up a meeting or just ask on the forum or ask me later. I can try to give an explanation. And then if that works out well, we run the second prompt, which is at least 500 tokens. Surprisingly, it's actually smaller, but now it's kind of more optimized. And here you can see stuff like, you're a computational linguistic and data processing expert. You have to tell him what it's like, right? So it's at this level you do stuff, and then it's like the more specific, what are you going to get, and here's what you're going to get, and even examples, and then it's able to actually do this pretty decent. And we're now kind of pretty happy with how things work. So it's been more complex than you would think when you start off. The translator, that's the second thing I demoed. It only uses the Flash, because the translating is kind of, it's not supposed to do anything but translate. And actually it does it really well, because it doesn't have to sort of think more and not more than translate, which is complex itself. But yeah, it does it really well as far as we've seen so at the moment. But to do it that fast and to handle it the way we do it, we do request batching here. We do it per field, and we give you this visual feedback. We lock fields, and then we populate them as things come back. And the way that works is something like this. I click the button, translate, and optionally provide some instructions. It will then lock all the fields that it's going to translate. And then it's going to send off a bunch of requests, as you see here, to the AI. So if you have 100 fields, it's going to be 100 requests to the AI, like this. And then as the responses come back, it's just boom, 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 insert. So it makes it really fast. And obviously now you've seen a front-end version of this. This can obviously also be handled on the back end. So as we move forward, you can have auto translation steps and things like that. But now we're kind of, we need to make the safe version work first. So the safe version is when a human is involved and kind of looks at stuff. But you can imagine managing like a multinational mega site with quite limited resources as we move forward. So that's kind of how that one plays out, and it will be launched together with Content Studio 5.3 in January. And that also includes a few other features, of course, in Content Studio. All right, questions?
Jonas?
As far as I understand, you're using the base models and feeding it a lot of context on each request. Have you considered or looked into using embeddings or creating kind of a knowledge base for each instance?
No, we haven't looked into that yet because we want to make this, let's say, the common grounds work first. Because everything you add, and here's also for us, unlike if you're making something as a specific customer, then obviously you can host your own model, you can run it, and you can kind of tune it and manage it. We have to provide this API, which is going to work for everyone. And it's not that easy to train it specifically. Technically, someone else could, of course, replace kind of the backend here, as long as you're using similar stuff. But yeah, as we move forward, we'll add more and separate features. But there's also no reason why you cannot use this also the same approaches yourself. Also, a nice detail, when we insert stuff here in Content Studio, that's a brand new API we've worked on. It's not 100% kind of, it's not going to be documented maybe in 5.3, but yes, eventually you will be able to use it. It's super simple. You just send an event with some added context, and it just adds the data in the field. So you can do similar stuff yourself.
Yeah, the way we designed it, that you can use your own model basically, and that was one of the reasons why we chose not to use OpenAI, but to use the model garden from Vertex. That there you can have your own model, and then you can configure the app to use your own model. Yeah. But in the first release, everyone is going to use the default.
Yeah, and every paying customers get kind of included access to what you've seen here. That's the plan at the moment, at least. So you will be able to use this. You just upgrade to the new Content Studio and install the apps and reconfigure them for you if you run in our cloud. Otherwise, you have to just set up and get some tokens from us, and you can use it even if you host XP yourself. Yeah.
So you're taking the costs? For
yeah, for now we are taking the costs for running this as paying customers, for paying customers. Open source, of course, not.
Can we say upload tone of voice documents based new content on previous content style?
Yeah, so what we have for now, so this is going to evolve obviously, but what we have for now is what I showed you here. The way you go forward is, I can do it on this root page then, here, edit. So here you can go into the content operator, and you can add all your instructions here, tone of voice, all of it here, and it will be automatically included when every request we send to the backend. So it's, yeah, very easy. Any other thing you also want, it's just text.
Now it's in a form of text. It's not gonna look at existing content that you have, but that's coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will the translator be more advanced in the future, thinking of word length, as some words in Norwegian are typically a lot longer than words in English?
And what do you want it to do?
For example, in the example you showed there, the Norwegian word is a bit longer, so it like messes up the space. Is it possible to pass for that?
Yeah, you can obviously say use the shortest possible word, but that's I would say more of a design issue, that the template here is a bit tight.
That is dictated by the design and style on your site, so it's difficult for AI to know that.
But let's put it this way: if you have a field that is limited in characters, right, then the AI should get that information behind the scenes and try to kind of comply with that. So it might not be perfect in these first versions, but as we iterate, we will make sure that kind of all the context and metadata should be kind of understood. And of course, it will crop it today. Technically, also, if it returns too much, it's actually going to cut it in the in the form. But you can actually just give it that instructions say that use the shortest possible words. You can just write it in the translator here. Yeah, you can just say always use short words. So then it will do kind of the best it can then from. Yeah. Yeah, more.
Yeah, what kind of data do you share or not share with people, and where will the data go?
So what happens, what we share here is the schema, the content type definition, or the other fields and components and X-data and whatever, what have you, which are kind of, I guess the worst thing, it includes the help text. But so that's fair. But we also post, if you have data in the form already, we also share that with the AI. But we do that only on a per request. So it's request, stateless, and back again, and we never store anything somewhere in these APIs in Google. But yeah, technically, if you're in the, let's say, pipeline of the request, if you're managing the models or something, you can theoretically then get what is posted. But we will be hosting this and managing the security around them. But yeah, technically, let's say Google, and in this case, could read it, but they don't, at least according to what they say, when you're using these business APIs, you're paying for them, and they don't use that for training or anything like that. Yeah.
Will the editors be able to customize or choose between different avatars for the AI?
Good question. Yeah, good question. We wanted to make him like, it's an AI, you can't trust him. But yeah, the idea is it actually will be, not in the first version, but it will be actually a user in XP. So it's going to be in the system user. It's going to call AI operator or something. And you can go in there, and then you can change the icon, and then the icon will be replaced everywhere, actually. You can even rename it to Jonas. Yes. So that's the idea. So if you want something more personal, then that's going to be possible. Not here, though, but yeah.